back. I'm gonna go back in here.
It's a barometer, but it's broken.
I've never seen a barometer that wasn't broken. The entire room is made of wood.
Oh,
Oh, it's not just made of wood.
I love you.
I think it's the actual hull of a ship.
How are you doing?
Nice. A real treasure chest.
How do you know there's treasure in there?
It's actually a very fun game. I think you'd
Why
like it
else
a
would
lot.
it be locked? Plus, there's a treasure map hanging directly.
Or like point and click.
What's the deal with that painting on the front?
Yeah.
Not sure. We should check that treasure map too.
Okay, so, yep. I3? Or I4? Wait. I4 north.
Nothing.
Did you check the treasure map for clues? And what about that painting on the chest itself?
Is it 3 instead of 4?
Still locked.
I think there's a connection between, like, they're different versions.
Yes, I know this. I think it's where it is. Because it's very obviously that spot. Wait.
There we go.
Perfect.
Okay.
What was in the box?
More wooden models. These are a little different to the one on the desk.
Yes, okay. Sorry, I was making sure.
I don't know what that drink is, but I bet it's 99% sugar.
I'd read you the ingredients, but there's nothing written on the can.
That's even worse.
Fifi's got something pinned up here.
What is all this?
Is Fifi trying to solve the mystery with math equations?
Maybe. Did you ever try that? Maybe it works.
Did you notice who isn't on here?
Freya?
Mm-hmm. And Fifi herself.
Is it?
A pretty ornate window with a great view of the lake.
We're supposed to be looking for clues, not assessing the real estate value.
And over here, you'll see the a simple trick, but it really transforms the space. It looks like a microscope, a big one.
Can I touch it? I'm not sure this is a microscope.
Oh.
I guess that's wrong.
The 4 lenses all have different magnifications, so they must each have a specific position.
That's the one.
Woo! I just sort of made it try and actually look
Hey,
like
not
the same
bad.
size.
Sounds like it unlocked.
Yeah, it's built on top of a little metal box.
Oh.
There's a book in here. It's a magnifying glass. A big one.
How come you don't have one of those?
No.
Why? Because I'm a detective? Should I start smoking a pipe too?
You couldn't pull off a pipe.
Are they paper lanterns?
Whatever they are, I like them. It's like a little parade of floating spirits.
Oh, whatever it is, it's playing a little trumpet.
Well, it is the music room. He's got to practice.
What's with all the broken glass? Who plays the violin, I wonder?
It's pretty dusty. So I'm guessing nobody.
It's one of those big pianos with the open lids.
Don't touch it.
Why not?
Might be haunted. It's a globe.
For globing.
Okay. I guess talk to Jesus.
Are you a ghost?
Sally! That's rude! Unless she is a ghost.
It may come as a disappointment, but I am alive.
Ah,
That makes you a suspect, I'm afraid.
I know.
what's your name?
My name is Poppy. I'm a pointer. And a pianist.
We'll need to ask you a few questions about Freya.
I know.
Hey, you're pretty good.
All in the wrist. And 13 years of dedicated practice. 3.5 hours of piano practice. Soon as I wake up. Same as always.
3.5. Does that not hurt your hands?
Sure.
And you do this in the music room?
No, I prefer to practice in my room. When I make mistakes, I like to make them in private.
What did you do after that?
I was supposed to meet Fifi in the library, but I totally forgot. When I finally got down there, she'd already gone. I checked her bedroom, but it was locked.
Was Fifi not in there?
No idea. She keeps her door locked either way. So I went back upstairs and out into the moonlight garden.
The what?
The little garden on the roof outside my room.
Was it just you up there?
No, Fitz came outside after a while. His room's on the other side. He's been teaching me about flowers.
So, did you talk to him?
Not really.
You ignored each other.
I didn't say that. Softly does the flower grow, all in time, and time is slow. Rest a seed within the earth, but do not rush its gentle birth.
Ooh.
Hour by hour, day by day, tune your heart to nature's way. Hard of head, but free of mind, unimprisoned, unconfined. With starry eyes, she sees beyond, behind our walls, beneath our pond. A soul untied,
I love
it's
her.
hers, it's free. Was then, is now, will ever be. Between the lips a silver spoon, a story written all too soon. The chosen dwelling of her heart, unjustly chosen to depart. Lost her liberation lays, in the center of a maze.
Interesting.
With surging tide, the waves are thrown, an entity of all its own. But on its surface you may see, reflected in the waters be, the orchestrator, pale and still, pulling strings, enacting will. Needless noise from tongues expel, unless within the mouth they dwell. The spoken word, unfit for dealing with the shifting form of feeling, stand unblinking in the face of taciturn and soundless space. Foregone drifter, holding fast, days as shadow seeker past. Is it bravery or surrender, accepting that your world will render nothing darker than the gloom some four walls make around a room?
Interesting.
That's me. I'm on a list of murder suspects. Always thought that would be kinda cool, but it's just tedious.
Falls a little short, doesn't it?
It was my mother's originally.
So, why is it up in Flora's room?
She just gets the most use out of it. Freya would borrow it too sometimes.
Does this belong to you, Poppy?
Now that's not really my style, is it?
But who else would own a tape like this?
Literally anybody. This is mine.
Really?
No, well, yes, it was. I gave it to Freya about a year ago.
What was on it?
Nothing. It was blank. Freya said she wanted to record something.
Any idea how it ended up underwater?
Maybe someone wanted to destroy it, but got really lazy. Why is the glass cracked down one side?
Natural wear and tear, maybe?
No way.
I love you.
Freya took good care of her stuff. Is that a gardening trowel?
Yeah. I think it belongs to Fitz.
Really? Huh. Never seen him use it. I think everybody sees something different.
Did Freya ever tell you what she saw in it?
Not exactly. She said something about it being from a recurring nightmare.
Sorry, but if it was from a nightmare, why would you paint it and leave it in front of your bed?
Maybe she wanted to take control of it. Giving something a physical form can make it easier to deal with. Well, sometimes. Whose paints are those?
They belong to Felix, I think.
That belongs to Flora, I think.
This is a photo of Fifi and Freya, right?
Yeah,
How come you're not in it? You're friends with them too, aren't you?
I'm not really one for photographs.
Fifi looks like she really admires Freya.
Fifi's loyalty to Freya is unshakable.
Out. Thank you.
Oh, you've been to the greenhouse? What did you think?
Impressive, I guess. But kind of unsettling with Fitz lurking in the shadows the whole time.
Yeah, he does that. Is that supposed to be Flora?
Possibly?
Oh, how nice. There's something I noticed about Freya's knife wound.
Hit me.
From what we could tell, the blade went in at an exact right angle, perpendicular to Freya's body. And there's only one small pool of blood. Nothing on Freya's hands, or anywhere else. The whole thing is just a little too peaceful. Did you find that in Fifi's room?
No. Should we have?
No, it's just... It looks like something she'd use, don't you think? What was inside?
Nothing.
Huh. Freya would always load up the palette with all the exact colors she was gonna need. I think it helped her zone out and focus on the actual painting itself. Like getting all your sheet music lined up before playing a long piece.
Right. So the blob of black paint in the middle, that was for painting Flora?
Flora's dress, yeah. She wears even more black than I do. When I first saw it, I thought it looked like Flora was holding a knife with blood on the tip.
You don't think that anymore?
No, it was a stupid thing to say. The room was dark. I was in shock. I'm just an idiot.
But it was blood on the tip. If you hadn't said anything, maybe Fifi wouldn't have checked.
Exactly. It's stupid.
But we would have missed out on an important clue.
Is it a clue? Really? Tell me how it's a clue. Tell me how it helps. Nothing about the knife makes any sense. It's just freaking everyone out. Wish I'd never said anything. Don't you think that's weird? That the letter isn't addressed to anyone? Or signed by anyone?
Someone's being deliberately secretive.
Or they're trying to manipulate you. Whose paints are those?
What do you make of the statue?
I know that's the only harp in the whole of Tangle Tower. I've never actually seen a real one.
Maybe it's from before your time.
Oh, definitely. You see how old this statue is?
What about the symbols? One of them looks like piano keys.
Yeah, weird.
So there are two families living in Tangle Tower?
Mm-hmm. 3 pointers and 5 fellows. 4 fellows.
What's the connection between them?
There isn't one. Not really. It was all built by the Remington family. Flora is a Remington, originally. So was Primrose, my mother. She married into the Pointers, and Flora married into the Fellows.
So the fellows and the pointers own the house now?
Flora owns the house. Depending on who you ask, that means her husband Felix owns it too.
What about your father?
His claim over the house kind of fell apart after my mother left.
Where's your mother now?
No idea.
Interesting.
Don't look at me. I didn't break it.
Does anybody else use the music room?
Yes. I don't know who, but I can tell when somebody else has touched the piano. Is that Fifi's diary? I'm sure I've seen it in her room before.
That's where we found it.
Have you ever read it? Do you know what's written in there?
Nope. I'm sure she wouldn't appreciate me invading her privacy.
I thought you and Fifi were close friends.
Yeah, we are. It's just Fifi's gotten kinda impatient with me recently.
Do you know why?
I'm not sure.
I'm sure she'd tell you if you asked.
Oh, she would. She'd give it to me straight. Probably why I've been avoiding it. I'm just me. There's nothing to know.
How are you related to the other Pointers?
My father is Percival Pointer. The professor spends most of his time hidden away in his tower. Barely speaks to anyone these days. Especially not the fellows.
Do you get on with the fellows?
2 of them. Fifi and Freya are my closest friends. We all turned 19 last year.
Do people ever leave Tangle Tower? I don't mean to be rude. It's just, If you're 19...
You don't have to answer that, Poppy.
It's a fair question. I'd like to move away, definitely. Fifi, Freya, and I would often talk about it, argue about it. Freya wanted to leave, but Fifi... things are more complicated for her.
What about now?
After what happened, I really don't want to stay here much longer. Fitz and I were up in the Moonlight Garden most of the afternoon. Then we heard this sound. Lasted about 3 seconds. I've been trying to decide how to describe it, but I'm struggling. It was like something drilling into a piece of metal, but different. Worse. I was pretty sure it was coming from Flora's tower, so we went up there to check. Her door was locked. Nobody was answering. I knew Freya and Flora were both supposed to be in there, so I made Fitz kick down the door. I went inside. Freya was lying on the floor.
Flora was in the room too?
Yeah. I think she realized what had happened at the same moment I did. I didn't know what to do, so I ran downstairs to get Fifi. Her door was still locked, but I knocked and shouted at her. Eventually, she let me in. The lights were off, but I could see she'd already been crying. I told her what had happened. She didn't believe me. She got angry. First time I've ever seen her angry. I dragged her out into the hall. My father was there too, for some reason. The three of us went back up to Flora's tower. Then Felix arrived. He had Penny with him. Fifi had this idea. She wanted to do some kind of scientific test. She took me down to the library. We were in there about 15 minutes. After she was done, she went back upstairs and I went back to my room.
That's it?
That's it.
All right. Poppy's bedroom is unlocked.
I wonder what's in there.
Alright, your next one.
Anything in the drawers?
Nothing you need to know about.
There's a name for this kind of piano. You know, these ones that stand upright.
It's a metronome for keeping time.
It's ticking. Is it a bomb?
It's supposed to be ticking. Not sure what those symbols are, though.
Interesting.
There we go.
Perfect.
That one wasn't
What
that
happened?
hard.
Little hatch unlocked in the back.
Anything in there?
Mm-hmm. It's a photograph. Part of a photograph.
Holy shit.
There's something about that pink cassette tape. Something suspicious.
Let's ask Poppy about it.
I don't know what that is.
Weird, considering we found it hidden in your room.
Well, my room is full of junk. There's probably a bunch of stuff hidden in there. I don't mean like... Please stop talking to me.
Does this belong to you, Poppy?
Now that's not really my style.
A big glass door leads out into a garden. Somehow,
There's a little mechanism by the handle.
something happened.
That must be it.
I just remembered the other side. Woo!
And the door's still locked.
I still feel like we made some sort of... Didn't we solve...
We did, but
Okay, give me a second, guys. Okay.
It's locked. But at
I
least
thought we were...
we are.
What's that thing by the handle?
It made a noise.
I guess that was right. Finally, it's open.
Whatever's on the other side better be worth it.
Giant stone frog. Love it.
Ah, he's got his tongue out like he's catching snowflakes.
Except those aren't snowflakes. They're feathers.
Interesting.
That's one big dragonfly.
Or one very small dragon.
Huh.
It's another little statue, doing a really bad job of hiding in the bushes.
He's playing a lute this time.
He's also wearing headphones.
Well, they're not part of the statue, and they're not headphones. They're earmuffs.
A little pond.
It looks really, really deep for some reason. See those metal bars around the edges too?
Oh yeah. What do you suppose they're for?
Nothing anymore. Looks like somebody broke them and then never bothered to fix it.
Trees. On a roof.
In a garden.
In a garden. On a roof. It's a rose bush, growing on a little patch of bluish soil. Apart from a couple of loose petals on one side, the whole thing looks very well cared for.
The roses are bright red too.
Now, aren't roses normally that color?
Exactly.
Okay.
They're bird cages. But the birds are coming and going freely.
Is that a metaphor?
Oh, it totally is. Check out that butterfly.
Looks evil.
Wow, judgmental.
My little writing desk. It's kind of cute.
There's nothing written in the book, although someone's torn a page out of the middle.
What's with those little windows down there?
I think they're there for draining rainwater.
Oh,
I don't like mirrors. They steal your soul.
how do you get your hair so symmetrical without using a mirror?
I do it by weight. I can feel if one side is heavier than the other.
An especially fancy cage.
And it's home to 3 especially fancy birds.
Oh, just beautiful. What is it?
Huh?
Sort of a delicate jade, but with a little seafoam green, is that right?
Sorry?
Your hair, dear! Which shade do you use? It's lovely! In that shape, you're really pushing the envelope.
Oh, thanks. I do what I can to offset Grimoire's beige on brown ensemble.
Detectives don't need to be brightly colored. We prefer to blend into the background.
Oh, you're the detective? Delightful. Penny Pointer, pleasure.
Is that short for Penelope?
Officially, yes, but I never can be bothered with all 4 syllables of it. Penelope sounds a little ostentatious coming out of the mouth, don't you think?
God.
Sure. Yeah.
Also, after I'm done talking to her, I'm
20-something
done again.
Aquarius love to travel,
Or should I keep
and nearly
going? I don't
all
know.
of my friends are birds.
Travel? Where to?
Anywhere at all, as long as it has species worth studying. Ornithology, they call it. I'd call it the only thing I've ever been good at.
And have you studied the birds here at Tangle Tower?
But of course! Where else do you think I developed my love of the field? No matter where I go, I always find myself coming home to Tangle Tower.
Because of the birds.
Oh, no, because of him! Silly to admit, but I suppose I can't bear for us to be apart.
Who are you talking about?
Oh, don't you know? My fiancé, dear Fitz. He's not really the traveling type, you see.
Fitzfellow.
The very one.
You're engaged to a member of the Fellow family? That's interesting.
I'm not especially interested in whatever tedious feuding goes on between our 2 families. Fitz and I find it much easier to stay out of it altogether.
Wait.
We can get into Penny's room now.
Now, like, right now?
No, I'm just going to take the first pitch.
What is that?
I think it's a family tree.
Okay, so... Okay, so she's all the way over here. Okay, so they're like... Okay. Okay. I was making sure, man. I was like, aren't these guys fucking cousins? Anyway, I'm gonna finish talking to her and then I'll be done with stream.
Freya was very talented, even at that age.
Do you know how old this photo is?
Not sure. Must be a couple of years at least. Sometime before Fiona settled on her current style. I can't decide what's worse. How she looks here, or how she looks now.
Do you know who this is? In the photo?
Oh, absolutely no idea. I must say the girls are awfully well behaved today. I think they know we're in the presence of company.
They belong to you? Why do you keep them in a cage?
They need a special diet, particular treatment. I let them out to fly occasionally, of course. But they're all one of a kind. I couldn't let anything happen to them.
Do they have names?
Of course. Let me introduce you to Tabitha, Tamara, and Tatiana.
I've already forgotten all 3 of those names.
Which one is which?
Oh, that's simple. Tatiana is the oldest, Tabitha is the most patient, and Tamara has the best sense of rhythm.
Glad we cleared that up.
What about the one on your head?
On my head? It's just my hat. It doesn't have a name. Who would name their hat? There used to be all kinds of birds here at Tangle Tower. The most fascinating breeds, all totally unique.
Used to be? There are birds all over the place.
Most of them are rather ordinary, I'm afraid.
What happened to the non-ordinary ones?
That is a very good question. Somebody taken an interest in extinct animals.
Extinct.
Oh, yes. The book is very old. Most of the birds in it are long gone.
Well, what about this bird, though? The ink dip.
This one was thought to be extinct for a long time. Then one was found here at Tangle Tower.
So it's not extinct.
You misunderstand. It was the last one. The very last.
Oh.
I doubt Freya intended it, but the
No, she
overall
got the
effect
feather
is a
from it.
little unsettling. Don't you think? It's Flora that's the problem. She's an inescapably haunting presence, bless her. How terrible.
You recognize it?
The color scheme. 3 different pinks. Obscene. I know a lot of people rather like this painting, but it's a little much for me. I find it overbearing. And for some reason, it makes me feel bad for Freya. I think she was more troubled than we knew. Poppy's gramophone. She's had it for a long time. As a young child, she'd call it her mama phone, on account of it belonging to her mother.
That's cute.
Oh yes, adorable. Goodness me, Poppy really doesn't take care of her belongings, does she?
It wasn't in Poppy's room. It was in the little pond in the garden.
Exactly! Hardly the place for it. Ooh, delightful. More of a gemstone than a fruit, isn't it?
Inedible, too, I think.
Yes. At one point I thought Fitz might be growing them to sell them. But honestly, I think he just likes the way they look. I don't know what that is. Haven't seen this one in a while. He lives in the music room, doesn't he?
Currently.
Lovely. Oh, did Fitz show you that?
Not exactly.
We found it hidden under his bed.
Ah, right. Ooh, a secret diary.
That's our guess, too.
Excellent.
I don't like it.
If I'm not mistaken, that little red and white one is supposed to be a bird of some kind. Freya doesn't take very good care of her paints, does she? But then she was always rather bohemian, had her own priorities. A bit vain to carve wooden figurines of oneself, isn't it? Oh, that's rather sad. Gaudy old thing, isn't it? Flora seems very fond of it. I've never understood why. But then I could say the same thing about her husband.
Heyo!
Damn!
Hello. Who penned this juicy little number?
We don't know. It's not signed.
An anonymous letter? Classic clue. You know, it's probably quite impressive. To a visitor, fresh eyes and all that.
Not to you.
Try living in it for 20 years. The sheen wears off. If it wasn't for my fits, I'd have little reason to stay.
What about inheritance? You're the next oldest pointer after your uncle, aren't you?
Well, thank you very much for phrasing it like that. But no, any money left in the Pointer family will pass down directly to Poppy.
Is that fair?
I couldn't care less, to be perfectly honest. Finally! I get to see a detective's case file.
That's a very specific thing to be excited about.
Only last week I asked that miserable Hawkshaw woman if I could see her case notes.
I'm guessing she said no.
Would have been much more polite if she had just said no. Instead, she was quite rude to me. Accused me of being, what was it? A shallow sensationalist. Oh, did you talk to Poppy already?
Yeah, a little bit.
And did you make any notes of what she told you?
Yeah, I did.
Lovely. Burn them. It'll all be lies.
Why would Poppy lie to us?
Because that's what she does. She's a snake. Looks like one, too.
Don't you think you're being a little unfair, Penny?
She started it. Oh, she's beautiful. Who is she? Wait. Is that me? Isn't he strapping?
He is.
I love and hate her so
big.
much.
And so brooding.
Kinda sulky, yeah.
I can never tell what's going on in that beautiful head of his.
It just sounds like you don't know him very well.
I don't remember asking for your input. She'd sit in the aviary, first thing in the morning, and paint the birds. Sometimes she'd ask me their names.
Freya was interested in studying bird species too?
No, just wanted to know their names. Isabelle, Clementine, Myrtle, Lysandre, Genevieve.
Got it, thanks.
For my 21st birthday, she gave me a framed painting. All the birds from a single spring, with their names written underneath. I can't begin to tell you how much I've treasured it.
Sounds like you two were close.
I feel like I always struggled to articulate my admiration for her, but she had a way of understanding unspoken things. She's a most unsavory little... She was incredibly rude about my appearance.
Which part? The giant bird arms, or...
If I were her, I'd go easy on the judgment of others. I mean, look at her. She looks like the ghost of a scarecrow. I just wish Uncle Pointer would tell her to behave herself.
Professor Pointer? Why him?
Oh, it was Uncle that called her in. She's his responsibility. Did you not know that? She mostly ignores me, if I'm honest.
How come?
Well, we're not quite on the same intellectual level.
Oh. You don't need to.
No, no. It's quite all right. I'm comfortable with it. I must say, I really don't care for the den of self-delusion that he's retreated into. People are better off when they just let themselves be themselves. Between you and me, I think Felix is secretly rather miserable. A fellow bird enthusiast. She's quite the expert, truth be told. Studied them professionally at one point. I think her father taught her.
Are you friends with Flora?
A little bit.
A little bit friends.
She's one for the peace and quiet. I dare say I'm a little too loud for her.
I can see that.
I do admire her, though, really. Always felt like she could have done better than settle for Felix.
Ouch.
I said it.
She ain't wrong.
I awoke early and headed down into the greenhouse to see Fitz. He's always there. Crack of dawn, every morning like clockwork.
How come?
It's where he's happiest. That and he has a great deal of work to do every day. Watering, pruning, mulching, whatever that is.
Do you help him with the work in the greenhouse?
Oh, no. I wouldn't dream of it. I'd probably break something.
So, you stayed with Fitz the whole day?
No. In the early afternoon, he went back inside. Rather suddenly, as it happens.
Did he say why?
He didn't. Probably just a touch of heat stroke, the poor dear. He's more delicate than you'd think.
What did you do after that?
Let's see. I returned to the aviary to feed my birds.
And how many birds are you responsible for?
Officially 4, but in truth it's more like 400.
Can they not feed themselves?
Of course, and they often do. But I think they just like the company. As do I. Sometime in the evening, I left the aviary and headed back towards my room. But in the hall, I spotted Uncle Pointer heading down the stairs. He was muttering something. Seemed a bit upset, the poor dear. I followed him down, but the grand hall was empty by the time I got there. Empty aside from Detective Hawkshaw, who was loitering over by the library. I don't know what it was, but she looked a little lost. I inquired about the professor, and she told me he'd gone up the fellow tower. I ran up the stairs, hoping to catch up with him, but Felix appeared and blocked my path. For some reason, he was coming out of Fitz's bedroom. He looked rather lost, too. I told him I was looking for Uncle. He suggested we look up in Flora's tower room. We could see from the hallway. The door was off its hinges. I knew then something was terribly wrong. A moment later, we were gazing down on the body of poor Freya. Uncle Pointer was there, Fitz too, standing over in the corner with Fifi and Poppy.
What about Flora?
Of course, silent as ever. Uncle suggested we should leave. Give the others some space, you know. So he and I both returned to our rooms in Pointer Tower.
Alrighty. Thank you so much for watching, whether it be in our Twitch, Natsumi64, or our YouTube, LemonStan97. I will probably continue with this later, but until then, goodbye.